I'm your host, Kinetic, and you're watching GameOnEnd. Hello, welcome to our add-on series. Today, we're taking a look at the add-on Easy Loot. So to start with, let's take a look at the menu, what our options are. So we've got some options when this add-on will be enabled or disabled. And you can choose that based on the loot type of the group. And then you can also here set the loot threshold for basically quality of what we're going to loot here. And then you can jump into the actual settings here. And we've thrown a couple things in here in just testing this out to start to see. But it works pretty simply. You basically just click into this item box here, shift click an item, and add it to the list. And what that does is tells the add-on, even though we have our loot threshold set to uncommon, if we loot a corpse and it has this white quality item on it, it will still pick that up. You can, in the same fashion, if you have the quality set down to still loot white items, but there are items that you want it to not pick up, you can shift click it and then add it to the list here. And then of course anything you want to remove, you just simply click it on here. So it's pretty cool. It's just a nice quick way to filter out the items that you want to be picked up or not. Now, the really cool thing about this add-on is that it also adds in this destroy functionality. So, frequently, if you have skinning or something like that, or even herbalism, if you loot mobs that can be skinned or herbed, you have to clear the loot off of those mobs before you can skin them. So, the problem is that you may have something that says, hey, I don't want to pick up gray items or whatever, but the mobs that you're killing drop gray items, and you have to pick them up in order to skin. The problem is that it just takes up bag space. Eventually your bags fill up, and then you have to either find a vendor, or, you know, if you're in an outdoor zone and you have a mount that has a vendor on it, then you just gotta every once in a while pull it up and clear that out. Well, the cool thing with this add-on is that you can add things to a destroy list, and what that tells it is that I want to loot these items, but I don't want to keep them. So as soon as it picks these items up, it will go ahead and just destroy them straight away out of your bags. This is a really nice feature for, you know, for those kind of things where you do need to pick them up. But you know that you'll just instantly get rid of them. And they, you know, frequently don't even sell to a vendor for enough that it's even worth the time of vendoring it. The other option here is that you can add in a destroying gray items based on their vendors selling it. So you can basically go here and check this option, and it'll say, if I loot an item that has a vendor value of, right now it's set to 49 copper, then even if you don't have it on this list, it'll go ahead and destroy it. So you also have a few other things here that you can change this quality level based on specific criteria here. You can have it always loot quest items no matter what quality they are. Recipes, you know, you can go down to white because a lot of recipes are white quality. Consumables, you know, similarly, you know, there's just so many things here that you can tell it. You know, bags, if you loot like the traveler's packs or things like that, they're white quality, but you still want to pick those up because they sell for a good amount, and so on. So we've recruited a friend here to help us go ahead and test this out. So let's get over to a dungeon. Okay, so we've got a friend here who's going to help just kill some mobs here. Now this is no different than if you are running dungeons in a group. You would still, have mobs to loot, and things would be dropping. But this is also a good way to show if you are farming old dungeons, either for transmog or for crafting materials, whatever that might be. These are the typical situations where an add-on to help filter out might really help. So all we're doing here is basically pulling all the mobs up to the front, and it'll give us a good example of why it helps when you have a large amount of mobs to loot. So we'll wait till they pull all the mobs up to the front here. Okay, so we've got a group of mobs here. Now, like I said, this would be no different than if you were running through a dungeon, in a group, and just wanting to quickly kind of weed through the items, as they dropped, or if you were farming a dungeon and you had everything bunched up like this. So we'll see here right now. We have the loot threshold set to green, so it's not looting white quality items. It did pick up this pattern here and left out gray item and some cloth. Okay, so now what we will do is type /el show and bring up the menu here. And now what we can do is simply click on some items here and hit add. And that will add them into the list. So even though we're not picking up white quality items, we can still say we would like to pick up these items. And now if we click on this group, we should pick up the 3 cloth items. So those are all gone, and now it's just the gray quality items that are left, and this melon juice, which we don't want right now. And so to show the destroying part, so let's say this was mobs that could be skinned or whatever, and we needed to pick these things up off the corpses before we could skin them. So all we would do is just shift click on one of these things and hit add. Okay, so we've got the inert elemental granule, and the flake and grain should be left behind. So we'll do this and we'll see that it should it's not going to pick up this item here because we have gray items filtered out. So let's go ahead and, just for the test, let's add this here so that it knows to pick it up, but then it should catch it with this destroy filter. Yep, so see, it picked it up there for a second and then automatically destroyed it. So you can do it here with this flake. We will add that there and then add that to the destroy list, and now we should see it pop up here, which is right under our tooltip. But we should see it pop into the bag there and then be destroyed. So pretty cool. And as we can see, obviously it's filtering right now at white items, but it wouldn't pick up the ice cold milk anyways, because it's on the ignore list. So we'll go ahead and simply remove these. And we can remove these here. And it's as simple as that. You just click through the items that you don't want to pick up. Then we also have this gray filter here. We can bump this up to, say, 99 copper. And then the last thing that we have here is this option to greed or disenchant on a quality threshold or an item level threshold. So what we're basically saying is, if we're running through a dungeon that we may not need any of the drops in, let's say you're running through a regular dungeon, you know, at a max level character, and you're just in there to get like a trade quest done. You know, you have one of those quests that send you into a dungeon for, you know, for inscription or something, and you out gear the dungeon. You don't really need any of the drops. Let's say they're, you know, like 850-ish drops, and you're all in, you know, 900 plus gear or whatever, and you don't need any of that. Well, you can simply put this in here and say anything, you know, 850 or lower, that it will automatically roll greed for you. Or you can also add in the disenchant option, and if there's an enchanter in your group, it will automatically choose the disenchant option if it's available. Otherwise, it will just choose greed. And then you can also set it to automatically greed on quality threshold. So if something dropped, like let's say a recipe that was, you know, white quality, then it would just automatically greed or whatever. So pretty cool that you can just add these options in. And then you also can specify items in the same way as with these lists. You can add them to automatically be needed or greeted. So if there's a specific item in a dungeon, let's say you have this set to automatically roll greed on you know, green quality items or even blue quality items or whatever it is, but there's one thing that you're in there for transmog or something, you can add that to the list here, and then that will automatically roll need on that to override these settings here. So let's do another clear, and we can go ahead and show this one more time. Okay, so we've got another group here to loot. So let's go check this out now. Alright, so we're picking up wool cloth, linen cloth, a couple of green items, but you can see we're leaving behind these. So all in all, pretty cool. Just gives you a nice simple way to just pick up the stuff that you want and leave behind the stuff that you don't. And now we have tacked in one last extra little quality of life add-on here that is super simple, and it's actually something, if you're using an add-on like Bagnon, they have this bag cleanup option here. I'm not particularly fond of the sorting method that Bagnon's cleanup uses, and it also only has the option to clean up this specific bag. I believe it has the option on the bank as well. but it doesn't do a lot of the advanced things that this next small add-on does, which is bank stack. So we'll go ahead and run to the bank and take a look at some of the options that this has. Okay, so we are here at the bank now. So we'll take a look. So for starters, the first option here is just a left click, which cleans up your bags, and we will watch as this automatically sorts. And now we can go and look at the menu here and see what this is doing by default. So we have this here set on a couple of things here. You can tell it what you want it to do with conjured items, such as like hellstones or, you know, food from a mage. What to do with soulbound items, and what to do with junk. Right now we have it set to move junk to the back of the bags, but we can have it just go to the end of your items, which would then just tack it on here. I kind of like that it can move them separate, so you can see what things are just gray items they're safe to just get rid of. And then the conjured items to the end, so that if you are running low on bag space, you can say, oh hey, I've got a stack of mage food here, I can toss that, whatever. Then you have some simple things here of what do you want it to do when you open your bank window, and then do you want it to do anything when you go away from keyboard. You can just do nothing. You can have it sort the bags, or just compress. Now what compress does, we can see here, if we say have some oddball stacks, you know, you have a bunch of loose items in your bag, the compress option, which if we hover over here, we can see see, how do we force this? We have an option here. Okay, so when we open up the bank window, we can have it compress our bags. So let's do that real quick. So we can tell it to compress, which all it does is doesn't sort, but it does find these oddball stacks, and you can see here that it automatically fixed those stacks, making them as small as possible. Now we can also, if say we have this partial stack here of strange dust, we have some partial stacks here of cloth
for the alliance.
We can also tell it when we open the bank window to stack to the bank or to the bags, and what that option does is basically automatically fills up partial stacks. So we'll see this strange dust here and this cloth here should automatically fill up those stacks.
Need help?
In the bank, and so we can see a lot of things there filled up to 200 stacks. It cleared those out. So pretty cool. If you are frequently coming and just trying to get things into, say, your reagent bank or whatever, you can have it automatically do that for you. You, of course, can have it do the reverse,
honor,
which is stacking the bank to the bags, which of course is just the opposite of what we just did,
with you.
Which should basically fill out these stacks to 200, as it just did there. And
Light bless you.
know, just a couple of other options there. We can have it compress the bank stacks. We can have it compress bank and bag. And then we can have it automatically sort all of our bags. So we can just say sort bags and bank, and that should go ahead and fix both of these bags when we open it up. So it did the bank there first, and now it did our bags. Really a lot of options for simple ways to just try and keep your inventory straightened out and organized in a way that you can see it. I really like the methodology that it uses to sort. When you have the soulbound items first, it puts all of your equipped items right up there at the top first. which makes it easy to see, all of typically your gear and stuff like that. And then it starts going to by rarity, to sorting out the non-soulbound items. So starting with blue items up at the top, and then to green items. But it also sorts them by equipment, and then by like trade materials, and then down to white items, and then down to like crafting materials. So it's interesting in that it like gives you a nice flow to your bags, a nice easy way to, even if you're using an all-in-one bag like this, you still have some kind of structure to it. And after using it for a little bit, I really have gotten used to just, I know where to look for certain kinds of things, and if I'm trying to clear up space, I can quickly just jump in and I say, hey, okay, well, I know that gray items are down here at the bottom. Okay, well, I can junk that. Or I know that white items are down here. Is there anything I can get rid of? That type of thing. Or these white items, they're all bunched up in one thing. I know I can safely go to a vendor and get rid of those items. And it just makes it nice to be able to just choose some of these little quality of life things, that you may want to, to use. And then, of course, you do have some other things here. You can add items, like if occasionally you may have a macro or something that uses an item in a specific slot, and so you may keep, say, like your potions, you may keep potions in this specific bag slot, and you have a macro that's set to use a potion of prolonged power or something and line that up with a trinket, and your macro may call up that bag slot, instead of writing in the name of the potion or whatever. Say if you swap out what potion you have there depending on what spec you're playing or whatever. So you don't want that item moved. You can simply add it to this list, and it will not, even when it's sorting the bags, it will not move that item. And you can also have it honor the items that you've set in Blizzard's bag interface of, say if you want one bag to always have your soulbound items or your equipment or whatever, it'll honor that, and it'll leave the equipment in that specific bag. You can also add groups, in other words, by like bags or things like that, to the group, and it tells you, use the WoW Wiki bag ID numbers. That's where you can find what these IDs are. If you want to ignore bags specifically, so say if you have one bag that you want to specifically put things in any order, you can just tell it to ignore that whole bag. And then here you can change the click options, which if you hover over here you can see. You can quickly sort your bags with a left click. You can sort your bank with a alt left click, and so on and so forth. You have all these other options here. Then you also have some things here, like leaving it on cautious mode for moving the guild bank, because Blizzard's interface for the guild bank is a bit slow. So if it's trying to move things too quickly, it may get caught up. So it goes very slow on that one. You can change these intervals if you have lag and it tends to be a problem or whatever. And then of course you can have separate profiles for this. So super simple add-on, but has lots of features that really make it easy to
King's Honor, friend. Go with honor, friend.
To get it to do the things that you would like it to do. So, two very simple add-ons, but just really big quality of life improvements for playing the game, and having running dungeons, either on your own or in groups. just be a little simpler to get the things that you're there for, and to not have to deal with the things that you're not there for. That will do it for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, remember, pressing the like button is absolutely free. Subscribe and stay tuned for more Game on End.